about VAR. We haven't spoken about, they didn't get that right. They got that wrong. You know, referees are not coming in for any flack, Mr. Murphy.
Well, they got a bit at the weekend, the VAR. I think overall, been very, very positive. Two aspects to this, isn't there?
Listen to this, Simon.
One is the VAR, firstly, but the other one is the letting the game flow more. We know the little fouls not being picked up the whole time.
Right,
I think that's been the biggest improvement because we're all sick to death of seeing players fall over like they've been shot.
So the new approach is working, Danny.
Great.
And you welcome it.
Welcome it.
So it's well done to the refs. Well done to the PGMOL.
Yes, and even VAR has been better to a degree. But unfortunately,
this is Danny Murphy talking.
I don't. You know, if it went tomorrow, I'd be happy. But it's not going anywhere. But it's got better.
Right.
The problem is with VAR, like anything, there's always going to be certain things that are subjective. Now, I saw two incidents at the weekend that I just couldn't get my head around how the VAR hasn't intervened.
Well, go on.
So one was the Watford equaliser where he gave the foul the wrong way because it was actually a penalty. It's irrelevant that Leeds played well and deserved to win the game. Watford scored a legitimately good goal.
All right, okay.
The other one was where Vidra got his head taken off by the Norwich goalie, Krul.
Cool, yeah.
And Amin got his head taken off, and he had to go off concussed in the end.
Right.
How it's not a penalty, I'll never know.
Yeah.
It's how you can have a tackle outside the box for a player, get the ball and have a little follow through and get a red, but you come out and miss the ball and punch the fella's head off, and he goes off with concussion. It's not a pen.
So there was a big argument, though, Danny, amongst pundits as well, suggesting that he didn't get the ball first. So if you're not clear and obvious...
It's not relevant.
Well, it is, insofar as the idea that VAR intervenes on a clear and obvious. If it's not clear and obvious, if it's open to debate, that makes it not clear and obvious by the very definition.
Yeah, but
their mantra now is, if it's not clear and obvious, we're not going to get in the referee's face.
It was clear and obvious that if there was I watched it about 4 times and I struggled to see any touch on the ball. If there was a skimmer...
Why did you watch it 4 times? Because you wanted to make sure that what you were seeing was what you were seeing.
Yeah.
So that means you had an element of doubt about what you were seeing, so you wanted to verify it, because ultimately that makes it not clear and obvious.
It wasn't doubt, it was shock. I was like, that's got to be a penalty. But I watch it because
Had you changed your mind at 4th time? Or were you still the same?
I'm still, it is, look, it's on the telly above.
Oh, there it is.
I mean...
Clear and obvious.
If you're... What I'm talking about is comparing that. You know when players now are going into tackles, and back in the day you could get the ball... As long as you got the ball first, what happened after didn't matter.
Right. Now you can't leave your feet behind.
Right. Now you go get the ball and you leave even a trailing leg.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
So do you think, Simon, it's fair that amongst the PGMOL at the moment, the refs last week, there's a lot of mutual backslapping? We're doing well, and we're getting praised.
They're doing all right, that's for sure.
It's going well.
I think the midterm report suggests that we're in the right direction of travel. That we've got a little bit more respite from the endless narrative of people suggesting this has got to go. It's being criticised. People are failing, and they're starting to make sure that the referees on the pitch are re-empowered or empowered properly, and that the VAR is the tool that it was supposed to be, rather than the driving force behind the referee's authority on the pitch.
Yes.
That's what's happening. No backslapping, just an acknowledgement we should have done this 2 years ago, and we've now got it right, so we keep on this direction of travel.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody's happy. I mean, when you're listening to Thomas Tuchel, in terms of feedback, the Werner disallowed goal. Have a listen. This was Tuchel, because he wasn't all that happy with why this particular decision was made.
I was very angry because this, for me, I could never believe that this can happen in England, in Premier League, that you go back to a situation like this, where to a challenge, a 50-50 challenge, so early and not even in a close connection to the goal. So after that were like 2 or 3 crosses to defend, and then suddenly you go back. And I understood clearly before the season that we don't want to whistle soft touches, and that we take care that we have an intensive and aggressive game and a contact game. And so we are here today in the middle of London. It's raining. We have an intensive football match, and the referee decides to let this go. No understanding for that today.
Poison tree.
I mean, you're just debating what Tuchel was actually saying there, but there was a foul in there by Azpilicueta. So where is Tuchel's head regards what the opinion that he's mounted?
I should be well versed on the rule here, but I'm not, so I apologise. It was a foul, first and foremost, right? So it was a foul. It was the right decision in that respect.
Right.
What he's talking about, I think, is phases of play.
It's how many phases back you had to go.
Yeah, it was far back before the goal. But I don't know if the rules changed from when it was after the first phase and then it's reset. They reset the button at VAR. When I went to do the VAR when I went to the studios, they used to show you have one attack and then it goes out, the ball gets cleared, or one cross is done, next phase.
He's arguing semantics, though, isn't he? Because ultimately, you look at it and say, if the referee had been quicker on the spot, then the fruit of the poison tree, which was the goal, would never have manifested itself because the referee had dealt with it. Are you arguing that's a foul? No, I'm not arguing it's a foul. So the referee should have been quicker.
Yes, he arguing it was a foul as well, but it wasn't.
Is he arguing? But okay, for the point of that reference, he is arguing it. But when he comes to look at it properly, it'll be unarguable because it was a foul. I saw it same as you did. But we're now suggesting that ultimately this particular scenario is how far they're able to go back. It's either a rule or it's not. You're either conversant with the rules or you're not.
Exactly.
So if you're conversant with the rules, Thomas, with respect, shut up, because you might not like it, but then get the rules changed or get the rules reviewed on the basis of how the rules are reviewed every single year. If you know that this breaches if this is a rule that's in place
and it's not been implemented,
you can't pile into the referee. You can't pile into the crap.
Did you just tell your new best friend Thomas Tuchel to shut up?
But let's call it for what it is. Not just because I admire the
he's
fella,
saying if he's saying shut up if it's not a rule.
But if it isn't a rule, then the referee shouldn't be implementing a situation that doesn't have a rule attached to it. But if it clearly it is a rule. It's a rule, and we're not. And I know what your argument is.
Must be a rule.
Well, of course it is. So if he understands it's a rule, he can't criticise it. He has to get on with it and say, right, well, the rules are not very good, and we have to look to change them. But having a pile on about, I never thought I'd see this in English football. Shut up. No, we've been here 5 minutes.
Hold on. He might be correct.
I mean, really?
His opinion might be factually correct based on the rules. Well, I don't know.
Well, if that's the case, then that's a different discussion. If that's the case, my understanding of the rule suggests, right, because if he's going to countermand it and be able to contradict it, under no circumstances should that situation manifest itself, because the rule doesn't say that. Yeah. He can't say that because he doesn't know the rule. Right? And there's an argument that says that if he did know the rule, we'd be able to ram it down the official's throat live on television. The rule says this, but they don't know the rules, and maybe there's an argument that says they shouldn't. But if you're getting paid £10-12 million a year, swallow the rule book, understand what it is, and then you can hoist people by their own petard if you feel the need to do so. Yeah. In this instance, all the referee's done has not been sharp enough at the original outset, and then being forced to go back and bring a rule in which people don't like, and maybe the rule is the thing that needs to be changed. But you can't argue against the rules that you've accepted at the beginning of the season and then bring them up as the reasons why football in this country suddenly surprises you.
Are Danny and I witnessing a change of direction in your early season loving with Tuchel?
No, not at all. I just don't like hypocrisy. I don't like double standards. I don't like people that can sit there and say one thing when it suits them and another when it doesn't.
Ultimately, it was a foul. And if the ref had seen it properly, it wouldn't have been a goal.
So it's timing, isn't it? It's a matter in timing, isn't it? So what's Tuchel doing? Wind your neck in and get on with the fact you've won the game.
Well, and that's where you pick your battles, because you've won the game 3-1 in the end. You don't need to come out and say anything other than
Thomas will be very disappointed to hear you like this.
Absolutely.
What about
he'd probably laugh about it.
The James Ward-Prowse red, Danny? I mean, the game turned in that. Yeah, it turned in that when it was because Southampton were well and truly in it.
They were fighting hard.
I was in the air watching it on the way back.
I felt for him. I really felt for him. I understand why it was given a red. He did catch him. It was late, dangerous. But you know why he went in with such gusto was that if he'd have won the ball back, they were in. On the edge of the box, they were in. So as a midfielder, you're thinking, I've just got the equaliser, I'm captain, we're pressing, Jorginho's just come on, I'm going to go in this ball, and if I win it, we're in to win the game.
Right.
So he's got a lunge, but if you miss it, you've got to take the repercussions. I don't think for 1 second he meant to catch him. No. It was just a yard late.
Did Jorginho make an awful lot of that?
Yes. But he always does, and he's not the only one, so I can't hammer him because loads of them do it. But players enjoy stitching other people up now. I've never done it in my life.
I know that.
Right?
No, I know it's
true.
And
managers are the same. They're running along the touchline, brandishing cards.
I know, but
his reaction, Jorginho's reaction, definitely did not help.
But this is a great discussion, Jim, because we've discussed this many times about players' reactions causing referees' actions.
Yeah.
And I always played the game when I'll never forget. There was Ronaldo two-footed me once at Fulham for Man United, and he missed me. They were losing. They'd had Rooney saying, "Oh, we were beating them, whatever." He was fuming, and he two-footed me. I got out of the way of it somehow. If he'd have caught me, he could have done me. And I didn't, obviously, because he didn't get me. I didn't jump over, and I actually put my hand out at him and said, "Don't worry about it. I can understand you fuming, and we win in the game anyway." And that's just the way I play. Like, why would I try and stitch somebody up?
No, exactly.
Now people say, well, you would because you get an advantage in the game to then win, but that's not the way I was brought up, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, that doesn't mean other players don't do it. Yeah. Jorginho's one of the worst at it, but there's one in every team. There's one or two in every team.
I know.
If he'd have just got up,
Yeah,
he probably wouldn't have. They probably wouldn't have sent him off.
Mind you, I didn't expect this morning for you to two-foot Thomas Tuchel.
I didn't two-foot
I don't know. I don't think Thomas is going to be too chuffed with that one. Being told
I'm sure
to
he'll
shut
be
up.
bothered.
It's 12 noon.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.